Welcome to the Off the Pole podcast. I'm Sarah Scott and Annie Norris is my guest today. She's been in the industry for 17 years, running a successful studio, judging and competing all over the world. She's known for her stage presence, her fantastic instructing and being one of the loveliest ladies in the business. She's had an incredible year, so I wanted to catch up with her and see how she's managed to pack it all in. Welcome Annie Norris to my podcast. Thank you so much for giving me some of your morning. We've been planning this for probably about a year and keep and keep missing each other. But I finally got you. And who's your little friend? Who's joining you?
This is Frank. He's my manager. He looks after me.
Looks very business today.
Frank. I named him after a sausage. So
obviously. Yeah, the sausage dog is so cute. Mine's snoring behind, so hopefully the microphone won't pick that up. He doesn't really like being famous unless I'm training, and then it's all about him. But other than that, so yeah, thank you for giving me some time, because you've had an insanely busy year. You've been pretty much all over the world. You got married. You've been doing competitions. You've won awards. What are some of your highlights? I know I'm going to listed off a few things that you would have done in the intro, but what have been some of your highlights this year?
So I always forget to mention this one, so I'm going to start with this one. Getting married.
It's number one. So number one, not a pole thing. Yeah, okay.
Not a pole thing. Yeah, it was great because Kieran's my best friend, so that was just the best day. Sharing it with your bestie and just having fun, eating loads of food. People helping me pull my wedding dress up when it kept slipping down, things like that. It was just the best day ever, and it was so warm as well. And the dogs were there, and they wore little things around their necks and stuff. So awesome. That was number one. And then I think the second best thing was getting through to IPC. I was in the elite females, and I won pole idol as well, and then won instructor of the year. So that was just amazing. It was like a dream come true. I remember seeing my name on social media and I was like, no. And I didn't tell anyone for 2 days because I was like, well, I'm obviously going to pull out. There's no point in doing that, is there? Going to Australia. The comp was 10 days before the wedding as well in Australia.
Priorities. I like it. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. And it was.
Fly around the other side of the world. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was that. It was just crazy, but it was great. It was just amazing. It was so good.
And I say that you've done a million things this year. How do you find, because you have a full-time studio as well, which seems hugely popular. We did the Off the Pole Awards in April, and your students were on it. They were we're going to nominate everybody. We're going to do we're spreading it around. Whenever there's anything about awards or getting involved or doing showcases, you always seem to have your students are very, very involved. They seem to follow you around the world and have a huge support system. So how do you do, are you good at time management? Do you just kind of wing it? Is there any kind of thing that you think, right, that has to be put on a back burner, or this is going to be a priority? How do you manage studio time, competing, performing, planning weddings? How have you managed it?
So I like a good spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. So I love a good spreadsheet. That is a good question. I have a really great team at the studio. So the other instructors that work there are amazing, and they treat it like it's their own. So that's really helpful when it comes to studio, because I'll be like, right, I've got through to this comp. I need to go to South Africa for 2 weeks. Cheers then. And they look after it. They're amazing.
So good team. You have a good team. I think that's really, really important and hard to find. I think a lot of people struggle with building the team around them. A lot of people have other full-time jobs or they're trying to do it full-time and you don't have enough classes for them. And then it's the balance between how much you work versus they work. And yeah. I mean, how long has your studio been running now?
Yeah, so I've been running for 13 years. And
so fairly stable job now.
Stable job. Although people still say to me, "Oh, you're still doing the dancing thing," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're still doing the lawyer thing," just because mine is also a job. But I've had to go through some not so good instructors. You have to go through them, and then when I say not so good, just as in they can't
the right. It has to be the right fit. So maybe they're not the right fit for the studio.
That's a much better way of putting it. Yeah. And they literally every instructor we've had have always been amazing. They've been friendly and just genuinely lovely people, but they've had their own things that need to come first.
Yeah.
And just the team we've got at the moment are just amazing. So yeah, good team, and then just being like good with your time. And you know, when you have things that you want to do, like I don't know, like I'm rewriting our instructor manuals at the moment. I've been rewriting those for about 2 years now. So, you know, things like that get put on the back burner.
Definitely, yeah. It's difficult to find the balance sometimes, especially like the work life balance and even like the work training balance. So like fitting in your own training around your like class plans and things like that, because you definitely like you didn't compete for a few years and then you like ramped up your competing, like you did pole art South Africa as well, you did Dance Filthy this year, you've done a huge amount. So, and they're all quite different styles as well. So if you found it like, did you have to really mark out, right, this is what I'm going to train for myself, or did you just like grab it whenever you could?
No, I had to get quite good with that this year. So when I was booking in, say, private lessons, I would make sure that they're all one end of the day so that I can come in at 11 and train till 1, and that I knew those 2 hours were for me. And I purposely chose competitions that were really different as well, because I've just really, really enjoyed kind of just playing with girls and just seeing what I can do with that. And it keeps it really interesting. I think if it was all tricks, like I'd be really injured by now, or if it was all something else, I'd probably be bored by now. But
yeah, good to have a bit of variation. Well, I did post on the Off the Pole community group that you were going to be coming on, and I got loads of questions. Some of them were maybe more, you know, the ones from Dan Rosen, we can do those at the end. Something about husband versus dogs, which I don't want to put you on the spot. You can let that one percolate for a bit. But Rachel's story said, have you always been confident at exotic style, or did you have to break through any awkward personal barriers? If so, how was the process of unleashing that confidence? We had a lot of questions about your like performance and confidence, and I think Karen Curry put a good question about like, how do you make it seem like you're only looking at everyone in the audience thinks you're just looking at them? Like, has that always been in there, or have you had to build that up over time?
So the exotic question is quite interesting, because actually I never saw myself as an exotic pole dancer. Like, I don't dance in heels that much. I've always felt slightly uncomfortable in heels. I felt like Bambi on ice, and I don't really like my boobs very much. So I was always like, oh, just, you know, I'm an arty pole dancer or whatever. So actually, when I did Dance Filthy, I was like, oh my God, like I love this shit. Like what, this is great. This is really good. I'm going to get my boobs out. I'm going to do it. And we all
really appreciated it. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was great. I just, I felt like totally alive. It was incredible. I've always been, according to my mother, I've always been a bit of a show off. I'm really, really shy when it comes to group situations. So when we go, you know, when we're all at pole comps and stuff, and I see people I know, I get really kind of overwhelmed. And I've got really bad eyesight as well. So I can't always see people, and then people have waved at me and I've not noticed, and I feel bad. But then when I'm on stage, I just feel like this is my time to kind of to show off a little bit and show people what I've been working on. Mm-hmm. And I want people to enjoy it. And my main thing is I want people to feel something from my performance. Like, I don't really see a point in getting on stage and doing something unless they really felt something. Not everyone, but hopefully some people. Mm-hmm. So that's where I like the eye contact. So I'll look at someone and, I want them to think I'm dancing for them. And
they do. I think that I've been sat like front, I think I was front and center for Dance Filthy because I was judging. But yeah, like that you make really good eye contact. Like, it's not just about kind of glancing across, like you hold the gaze of the audience as well, which is really nice, and it draws you in. Like, you can't, I was like, oh god, I'm going to be writing stuff down, because you're just like, you're very captivating when you're on stage. I think people forget about that when they're maybe putting their routines together. They think a lot about the movement, but I think bringing the personality across in their routine is something that, do you have to choreograph that? Like, do you practice in a mirror, or do you turn away so you're not used to looking in a mirror? I know, so I've heard that from both. I've heard both things from different people. Like, they say they always look in the mirror and they practice their face, and other people say, no, I can't look in the mirror because then I'll get used to watching myself back. Do you have any tips on that?
Well, the main thing I like to try and explain to people is that you know, when you have a conversation with someone and they're not listening and they're on their phone, they're like, yeah. Sorry, what did you say? And they're not really listening. I find that really irritating, even though I'm sure I've done it to people before. But I feel the same with dancing. So I feel like when you're on stage, it's almost like you're having a conversation with someone and you want them to listen. And if you can get them to maybe forget to write just for a second and like connect with them. So I don't think I necessarily practice by looking in the mirror. I don't look at myself in the mirror really. I try and look at other people in the room. So I'll get people to watch me train. Not train, that sounds weird.
Yeah, watch me train. You sit there and watch me train.
Just watch me train.
Diva, yeah.
I have to have an audience. No, but when you do the run-throughs, but definitely that thing, as I said, I want people to feel something. And it's not just a case of, hey, look what I can do. Look at this trick. Look at that movement. I want to tell them. I want them to listen, and I want to have a conversation with them. So when I'm talking, dancing on stage, or when they're looking back at me, I'm then listening to them. And I know that all sounds a bit airy-fairy, but it's really what I feel when I'm on stage. So that I think if you can focus on one person, and you move that eye contact, but if you can focus, you suddenly feel the room kind of do this. I've been on the UK PPC stage when it's sold out before, and that's 800 people. And it felt like the room was kind of like this, and that we were all together and we were kind of listening to the story. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice way of putting it. And I think if you have good mindset and you're thinking that when you're performing, that's why it comes out on stage. And it's funny, it doesn't come easy for everybody. And it's nice to know that there is a conscious choice of right, I'm going to make a active decision to make it a conversation rather than just I'm just going to look up and do my tricks and then it's going to have the same effect. So yeah, I think that's a really good way of putting it. Karen Curry, I had to look up the question that she put because she did ask about how does she manage to make everyone in the audience feel as she only has eyes for them. But she also put, how in the name of all the pole gods and goddesses is she able to combine her lady in a street but a freak on the pole persona? She's so sweet when you're chatting to her in normal life, but then she turns into this unbelievable sex kitten when she's poling. How does she do it? Well, I think a lot of that is kind of answered in there. But I think it's when you first put up that you were doing dance fills and you said it's your first competition in heels, I think we were all collectively really surprised because we've always just we, the community, have always seen you as a really sexy dancer, as well as an artistic dancer. It's not to say that, you can't have both, but I think everyone was really surprised to see that was actually your first heels one. But you've been posting a lot more heels Instagram videos now, so we're all pretty happy about that.
It's really interesting. I was actually speaking to Andy Active Cherry about it because she's been in the industry for a long time as well. And I think what it was is that when we first started, it had just come out of the strip clubs and we were told this is a fitness. And we were like, yes, this is a fitness. No, we don't dance in heels. We are not sexy. We are strong women only. And then kind of there's just been that part of me for a while, I think, where I've been like, oh no, to prove that pole dancing is good, I have to do it this way. Even though I knew that wasn't true. And then actually the last 6 months I've been like, no, there's not a lot of people that can walk in these shoes, let alone dancing, and that's pretty hardcore as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's definitely been a big surge in the more exotic, sexy stripper style. I know there's a lot of kind of the hashtags that are being used. And a lot of people are kind of coming out of the woodworks and enjoying that side of it more, which I think is great. And I think it's awesome that there's so many different styles now. We've got a huge increase in the pole sport. We've got a huge increase in the heels work. And I think everyone can kind of just use it as just a pole. You can do what you like with it now, rather than it being and also you can do multiple. You don't have to be put in a box of you just can do pole fitness or you can just do sexy pole. We can spread ourselves around however we like, which is
absolutely
the best way to be. Let me have a little look at all these questions. Yeah, so how Lindsay and Pacey wanted to know what style is in fashion at pole competitions. I know you do a lot of judging as well. Do you see a specific style that people are using, or because not all of them are specific sexy competitions, but it's quite a hard question.
Yeah, I don't know. I do still think, we just did UK PPC, I do still think that big tricks are in vogue. Doing really big and doing them well. Yeah. Do
you have a nemesis pole trick or pole move? Is there anything that you have worked on or has taken you a long time to right, I'm going to get this trick? Or have you had anything that you've got maybe planned? Do you plan any big tricks out?
Yeah, so I all this year I've been working on my aerial cartwheel, which is like a bicep grip up and over. And then I nailed it and I was really happy. And then I just got scared of it and started hooking my leg on. And then I was all like, oh no, it's cool. I'll just unhook my leg again at some point, and didn't. And then I'm working on that again. Anything that's scary, really. I get scared. I don't know if you've seen my big pole mats that I have at the studio. They're like,
Yeah, they're good. They're awesome. But I think it's good to be cautious. Like I say this in my workshops when people put themselves down. I'm like, the human race has survived for a long time for being cautious. Like it's good that you don't want to throw yourself upside down on a metal object and try and catch yourself with your foot. Like it's good. But I think as long as people are trying to do them safely and they have big mats down and they're getting the right technique and they're not just putting them into these routines for the sake of them, like there's a point to put them in. Then I'm all for them. But I'm with you, I'm a total coward. I only do stuff where there's no risk of death. Like I don't.
Oh, your latest post with your knee grip, your upside down spinny knee grip, and
But
you're
that's
like,
brass monkey. That's old school. Like I could brass monkey all day, every day. You could chill out there. Like people don't really do a lot of brass monkeys nowadays. You know, we were talking about this. I can't remember who I was talking about it with. Are you like on your phone and not listening to me?
yeah, hold on, it was, I don't even know what's happened. They called on my phone and now it's all gone small. Hang on.
Oh, that's all right. No, take your time.
Yeah, back. Cool. I don't know why I did that then. Yeah.
My laptop phones when my phone rings
That
now.
just happened.
Yeah, I don't know how to turn it off. I think there's a setting and you press it. It's modern technology. But yeah, like old school tricks. They are like the basis of a lot of the newer tricks now, and then people wonder like why they're so difficult. But if they haven't got that foundation of doing like a leg hang for 5 years, because that was the only thing we could do, then like now it's easy for like I think the older polers, because we literally had so many less tricks to learn, whereas there's a lot of pressure now to be like new trick. I've got like I could just do brass monkeys all day. I think like I've got another video of a brass monkey trick. I'm like, I can't post that. Like the last like 3 videos I've posted have been based on a brass monkey.
But you're right. I find that actually that helps me with being a good teacher as well, because it's like for years, like you said, for years all we did was sort of leg hangs and knee grips and things like that. So it's actually the basis of a lot of moves. So when someone comes to me and goes, look at this thing on Instagram I want to learn, I'm like, cool. And I can dissect it all the way back to where it started, what they need to work on. Because that's like intrinsic in us, like we know that stuff. So I actually find that, it's really quite helpful with teaching.
Yeah, definitely. Like reverse engineering stuff back to be like, actually, that kind of looks like this. And I mean, everything's a variation on a variation now. There's nothing really that's massively new. I think unless it's like contorting and putting something where it shouldn't do. I don't count those because I can't do any of those. But yeah, I definitely think it helps. And if people did just put in a little bit more of the base work, kind of the base tricks into their training, I think they'd actually find that they progress a lot quicker. And I like the old school stuff. Like I did a knee hold the other day in a routine.
Yeah, I know. I saw it. That was it Dance Filthy? You did a knee hold, and I was like, yes.
It gets like the same amount of applause as like something like really, really difficult, and I'm like, yes. I'm gonna stick to the intermediate stuff. This stuff rocks, and I won't die.
Back in the day, knee hold was like one of the most advanced.
Mind's blown. You're holding on with your knees. So even like a layback was super popular because you're like, how are you holding on? The physics. You used to do death lays as well in comps. I remember, didn't you used to do it like pole divas? Didn't you used to do death lays?
Maybe I've done like one or something, but that
I'm sure I remember someone doing a death lay. I'm sure it was you. That was always like, people would go absolutely crazy for a death lay. So bring back the death lay, that's what I say. But maybe change the name because it sounds quite negative.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it makes it sound harder than it is then, so, you know.
Yeah. I need to get more. I only remember like the old school names, and even there, everyone's changing them now. I'm useless at names. I just call them all variations, which is not helpful. Lorna Blackwell from the group wanted to know, have you always been fab from the beginning of your pole journey, or did it take a little extra effort? Like, were you a quick learner, or did you have to spend a long time doing stuff? And it kind of segued to what we were talking about.
I think we all know the answer to that. I mean, I think everyone's answer.
Amazing from the beginning. Move on.
Exactly. No, I was really, really bad when I first started. But I say I was really, really bad.
Were you though? Were you? That's subjective.
17 years ago. So, like, back then...
17?
17. I don't look old enough. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
But back then, like, when we learned to go upside down, we took 3 steps back from the pole and, like, ran at it. So I was really bad, but I think pole was really bad. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, well, yeah. But I think the teaching has got a lot better now as well. So people are learning a lot quicker. And there was a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because people are like, oh, did you pick up stuff up really quick? And I'm like, no, but, you know, I took a long time to learn a front hook spin. And now people get it on the first class. So, you know.
Yeah, so I don't really know the answer to that. I don't know. I don't think I was spectacularly good back then, but I just loved it.
Do you take any classes now? Like, are you a good student, or do you do like all self-learning?
I do a lot of self-learning, but I also train. I've got lots of training buddies. I don't really go to workshops anymore because I find that I get really shy and I don't really know. I don't know. I just get a bit shy and a bit nervous in a big group setting. So I'd much rather have one-to-ones. Like I've been to see you as for a one-to-one. I like Heidi Coker. And once I find someone that I like, I'll go and have private lessons because I think, me personally, I just get more out of a private lesson.
Yeah.
And you can work on specific things that you're working on. But all of my students, I'm always like, go to this workshop, go to that workshop, because generally they're the best thing ever. But I think just I get a little bit like,
no, I can see that. I'm not a very good student in group classes. I tend to, you'll be like, oh, I'll just do that later. I'll just try that. I'm just going to film it and then try it later. Like, I feel like quite a lot of pressure, like expectation.
Yeah.
Because I like to like watch and try and watch and try and watch and try. So it takes me like a few tries to get something and start to feel really comfortable with it. And I tend to find like, group settings, I like feel like people are watching and seeing if you're going to do it first time or not. So yeah, but that's just on myself. Like they don't care. They're doing their own thing. You know, they're not even bothered what you're doing, but no, I'm the same. I think I'd probably go to privates, but I like doing choreo classes though. Choreo classes in a group are always really good fun.
Yes.
Because you can kind of get lost a bit more.
Yeah.
Another good question was from Ruth Jane Battersea. She asked, given the fact that Annie is a legend and performed on so many stages, what makes a performance memorable from your own perspective and also when you're watching others? I thought that was a good question.
So when I watch other people, things that make it memorable is eye contact. And it doesn't have to be eye contact, it's projection. So I get that some people's pieces aren't about looking at people in the eyes, but as long as they're projecting their emotion in a certain way somewhere, that's good. And if it's not a deeply emotional piece, eye contact is good. And then interesting transitions and cleanliness, they're my favourite. Like I can see 1,000 tricks that are done sort of messily, and it doesn't, I think it's really strong and I'm still impressed, but it doesn't leave that imprint on me. Yeah.
I think that's a really good thing to like push, especially from a judge's perspective. Like yourself, you've done so many judging shows over the years, is that people do want to put in that one big trick that they've been practicing for the past 6 months, but it's like unless you can do it and breathe and talk and put it in the middle of a 3, 4, 5 minute routine every single time, be consistent, it's just not worth it, because your whole time you're going to be worrying about that one big trick, and if it goes wrong, then everything else just gets put, everyone remembers that one thing that you slipped up on, rather than putting in something that's a little bit easier, like a knee hold, and probably getting the same reaction than a bloody Marchenko. So
yeah,
I'm not saying a Marchenko is as good as a knee hold, but whatever, it's fine.
Well, we all know the knee hold is no.
It's way harder, way more impressive. I could do a Marchenko, but I just choose not to.
Well, you've got to leave something for someone else, haven't you? You can't do everything.
It's not even on my list of to do. Not even ever. Never even written it down as a potential. No. I appreciate and I move on.
Well, Bendy Kate had a conversation with me the other day. Apparently, years ago, me and her had a bet about who would get it first. And
who won? Did you do it?
No, I guess no one knows whether, mine got there first. But
no one knows.
Don't know why I did that bet. Maybe I was just...
What was the bet?
Bet was then the other person has to give the other one a private lesson. So I now owe her a private lesson because she got her rainbow first. So
there you go.
She's a lucky girl.
There you go. Let's see if there's any more questions. Well, we could cover the Dan Rosen one now that you have had a bit of time to think, which is, if you had to choose between your husband or your dogs, which would you choose?
That genuinely is a really hard question, because I don't look at these things like funny and like lighthearted. I go really like, shit,
What would I do?
What would I do?
That's a mean question, Dan. I don't really think that you should. We could throw that right back at him, and I doubt he'd want to answer that either. But he'll probably jump on this in the comments and be like, actually, I wouldn't want to guess which one he was doing though. And who is your inspiration and favourite pole dancers?
Oh my God.
That's from Anne-Marie, by the way.
Of course, so many. So to begin with, it was Pantera back in the day.
Where did
strong powerhouse, amazing, yeah. And then it's kind of changed. It depends. It literally changes from like month to month and what kind of thing I'm looking at. I always love your stuff. I save all of your stuff and I'm like, I'm going to do that. I love Yvonne Smink. She's so creative, but also then makes me feel really bad because I'm just like, oh my God, she's so creative. I can't create like that, but she's incredible. Love the way Marlo Fiskin moves. Heidi Coker. She's a special girl. Like if you've not had a lesson with her, like I recommend. Her teaching is immense. And I know this all sounds again a bit airy-fairy, but like my students and anyone that comes to workshops and stuff, because they put in 100% most of the time, and most of the time. I mean, I walk into the studio and then I go, oh, I got to do that paperwork. Oh God, I must do this. And they just come in and they work so hard. I've got a couple of students, like there's one girl called Claire. She works so hard. She just inspires me all the time. And she always tells me I work hard. And then I look at her and I'm like, no, hon, you work really hard. Mm-hmm. So yeah, my students. But pole dancers are you and Marlo and Yvonne. And there's probably loads more that I've just missed that are like greatly inspiring to me. But
so that almost concludes the podcast, because I feel like I've taken up enough of your time, Red, and you've obviously got so many deliveries coming in that you
It's probably loads of shoes. It was all the Black Friday deals, so I was like, okay.
I know. I didn't want to get suckered in, but I did. Is there anything that you want to tell the people what's coming next year? So I know you've had an incredible busy year this year. What have you got planned for next year? Not like everything, because you've probably got a million things. But
sorry, no? Okay. I started working for Expert, which is exciting. So that has been amazing. That was a highlight of this year as well. But so I'm looking forward to doing more of that. I've been booked for some workshops here and there, so I'm excited to do a few more of those. I've had an offer of teaching at a camp as well, which is really exciting. That was on my my goals, to always get asked to work at a camp. So that's really cool. Yeah, just that. And I know, again, what I'm going to say might just sound a bit of a blanket statement, but everyone that I work with, I want them to build their confidence, and I want them to start believing themselves a little bit more, because I know a lot of people come to pole as a confidence boosting thing, and that's the main thing that I want people to take away from anything at any time they work with me, is to build their confidence about their body, but just about themselves, really. So
yeah, that's definitely a very positive thing, I think, and that's why it's so funny when people look at pole as such like it's like, oh, people are just throwing themselves around half naked around a pole, but the impact that it has on people and the confidence that it gives people is so incredible. And I think more and more people like yourself that people are seeing, like they've kind of been with you along your whole journey in pole, and I think it's fantastic that you're absolutely smashing it on like competing and business and expert, and it's awesome to see. So we want more of you next year. And where can people find you? I know you're plastered over social media, but give us some, so like Facebook, Instagram, and like if they want to get hold of you for workshops and stuff, what's the best way to get hold of you?
So Facebook me for workshops, that's probably best. Instagram, you can follow me. I just keep posting loads of exotic pole at the moment because I'm really feeling that. Still do some other pole as well. I've got my feet on some of the posts.
Just my feet on.
Just my feet on. Today I put the shoes on, tomorrow I put my feet on. So that's Annie Norris Pole on Instagram. But yeah, I think they're the two main things. I don't have a Facebook page.
No, that's kind of dying out now. People don't really use them as much. But I'll link to everything in the show notes and all the blogs and things that I link you on, so people will be able to get hold of you there. But thank you very much for answering all our questions. And I'm sure we'll have you on again soon, next year, when you've done more amazing stuff. So
if we start organising it now, this time next year should work out.
Exactly. That's a very good point. Yeah, go us in our organisation.
Yeah.
So thank you, Annie.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me again. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm hoping to bring out these podcasts every 2 weeks and would love to hear your feedback. If you could leave a review on iTunes, I would be eternally grateful. As always, you can check out the transcript of this and all the other episodes along with the links to my guests on the OTP website.